Hi, everybody. It's Mike from Here the Watchman. And today on the Watchman's Report, we have some incredible guests that we're going to be talking to about some current events and then about what they're doing and what's happening moving into the next year, which is rapidly approaching us. Before we do, I got to get through a little bit of business. Don't forget, Here the Watchman will be back in Dallas, Texas. That is March 22nd through the 25th, 2018. We will be back at the Hilton DFW Executive Lakes and Hotel. You can go to our website now at hearthewatchmen.com. Take advantage of the early bird special being offered for tickets. You can get a group rate at that hotel of $99 per night, which is outstanding for the type of hotel that it actually is. It's just a wonderful experience. Our guests today have been there and been a speaker at the event, and they will be back. And what we are doing this year that's a little bit different is, along with the speakers, we are going to have some intensive workshops for you, where you can go in small groups and you will meet with some of the speakers, you will meet with some other people, and we are going to equip you with the tools that you need from a biblical perspective and a physical perspective on how to move forward and how to take this back to your own towns and your own families so that you're ready for the things to come. So without any further ado, I want to bring in Josh Peck and Christina Peck today. I'm just so glad to have you guys on the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thanks for having us back. This is a blessing for us. It's good to talk to you again, and glad to hear that things are going well over there.
Yeah, it's wonderful to be back. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, folks, these guys are busy people, man. They've got like a gang of kids. They just moved into a new home. You know, Josh is on Skywatch. Both of them are on Skywatch TV with Into the Multiverse, and just a phenomenal couple of people. And Josh, we got to talk about something this morning a little bit, and I want to get both of your input on this. That's really tragic. I'm not a doom porn peddler, but we have to mention this, and that's the shootings that occurred yesterday in Las Vegas, Nevada, at a country western conference. At current, 50 people have died, 400 people injured. You know, what is going on, Josh?
Oh man, the world's going crazy. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of confirmed information about it now, but like you said, what we do know is 400 people injured, 50 people killed. The shooter was using a fully automatic weapon, so it was something that's already illegal. And some of the latest news to come out is apparently the Islamic State is claiming responsibility for this, saying that he had converted months ago, but they're offering no evidence, so we still don't know for sure. You know, I mean, these guys are liars, so who knows? They could just be using this to further their own agenda, and this could have been just some crazy guy with a gun. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of information. Of course, prayers need to go out to the families of the victims and the police officers involved that can hopefully find out exactly what happened. Apparently, the shooter did kill himself. He shot himself before he was apprehended. And so details are still coming in. It's still really early, but yeah, I mean, the world is just going crazy. And of course, and this is all driven by a spiritual enemy. Of course, we're seeing divisions. Even every time something like this happens, the country is more and more divided in different ways. So you have people saying, well, it's really just crisis actors and it's a false flag and all that. I don't deal with any of that because I think that's garbage. I think that's garbage conspiracy theories that has no evidence. So you got people who will say that, and then this is kind of within our fringe Christian community. But even on a larger scale, this is just going to be used to further the gun debate, further an agenda to have more gun restrictions. But the thing is, it was a fully automatic. It's already something that has restrictions and is illegal. You know, the shooter broke a bunch of gun laws doing this. You know, throwing 2 more at every law-abiding citizen isn't going to help anything. That's just going to make it harder for people to defend themselves. And with this, it would have been difficult anyway, because apparently he was shooting from a 37-story window or something like that. He was shooting from a high up vantage point that it would have been really difficult for anybody to take him out. But still, I mean, when these types of tragic things happen, and this is now the deadliest mass shooting in American history of this type. But when these types of things happen, unfortunately, the people will use it to further their own political agenda. We see that on the left a lot. Of course, sometimes we see that on the right too. But I think that we're going to see a lot more talk about the gun control issues, that now somehow, even though it was a fully automatic weapon, we need to start putting further restrictions on semi-automatic. And I don't think that is the right way to go. I think if anything, we need to loosen restrictions on semi-automatics. Fully automatics, fine. Keep them. I personally, I don't care. But on semi-automatics, we need to loosen some restrictions so it's easier for law-abiding citizens to get them, but more difficult for criminals, people who are insane, stuff like that. I think when it comes to that, the government should stay out of our business. I've been rambling a lot. What are your thoughts?
Well, you covered a lot of them. I right away when I heard this morning what had happened yesterday, I just knew it's going to be another thing to tighten those gun laws on things. I mean, it was already so many laws were broken. Mm-hmm. How does making more laws against these gun laws, these things that are already illegal, how does that help? Yeah, it doesn't. They're just going to be broken anyway. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, and
actually there are studies that show that the tighter gun laws a country has, the more violent crime will go up. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not guns, it'll be a spike in like knife-related violence and any kind of violence and stuff like that.
Like, I can't get this, well, I'll get something else.
It's just people are violent, so we need better policing. I think that's really the issue. I agree.
Policing is a big part of it, and it just. It's beyond me how much like the left will push their gun laws. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, the guns don't kill people. The person holding the gun is killing the person. Okay, it's just like saying, well, McDonald's made me fat. No, you made yourself fat because you ate it.
If someone's bound and determined to kill a bunch of people, if we had 0 guns in this country, this guy could have still made a bomb. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that somebody can kill a bunch of people like that. Taking away other people's guns who are abiding by the law. Yeah. That's not the solution. But yeah, I mean, it is just a tragic event, and I'm afraid we're going to see more of these. I hope I'm wrong on that, and I pray I'm wrong on that. But I think that the tighter gun control that we have, the more that this debate gets further, the angrier people are getting. Especially if the Islamic State or especially if ISIS is involved in some way, and we still don't know if they were. But
people also have to realize that this was a process. You just can't walk in and get an automatic weapon or a semi-automatic weapon. You got to go through a process. Most of the time you can't walk out, well, never. You can never walk out the same day with a gun, a semi-automatic or an automatic weapon. You have to go through background checks, which this guy clearly passed. He was planning something.
Well, if it was a fully automatic, then he'd likely obtained it illegally.
But exactly. But for anybody who's wanting to purchase something, it's not like you can just walk in and get a gun. It doesn't work that way. I've been through my background check to get a gun. It's a long process, okay?
Yeah. And you got to get a permit.
You got to get a permit.
So there's already laws.
Yes, there's laws, and I abided by those laws. Mm-hmm. And anybody else who has a gun or who has gone through classes to carry or conceal a weapon, it's a process. Mm-hmm. There's no walking in and getting a gun and walking out.
What was your take on the whole situation, Mike?
Well, I mean, I think it's tragic, but as you said, Josh, we need to lift these families up in prayer. And again, the police officers who ran towards the danger, not away from it, we need to be grateful to them for what they did in this instance. And I do agree with you, and I'm glad you brought it up. This is already being used as an agenda. And you know, it's, as I always say, you know, we have these events happen, or we had the attacks in London that happened, and people start talking about, oh, it's a false flag, it's a false flag. Well, there's still 50 people dead and 400 people injured.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, if you look out there at the doom porn peddlers this morning that are on the air and on the internet, and what they're saying, it truly is just absolutely disgusting. And you know, ISIS can make their claims, but as you said, they're liars. We don't have any evidence of that. We just don't have evidence yet of exactly what happened. So I think what we need to do is ask our listeners to use some discernment. I mean, if you look at reports out there, it's scary to see that people were talking about he had bombs in his room and all this stuff that all turned out not to be true. Now, ISIS did declare in May of 2017 Las Vegas as a target. So we'll have to kind of wait and see what happens with all this and whether it's true. But I strongly urge people to stay away from the mainstream news reports, you know, follow some of the alternative news sources, Dredge, you know, you can follow Steve Quayle, you can follow Skywatch TV, you can follow my channel. And we'll try and get you the truth about what we know that happened there. Unfortunately, and this is unfortunate, the shooter shot himself. And so we'll never really know. We'll never really be able to tell what happened. But something, we all have to admit, something crazy happened with this man. And you're right about the gun control issue. You know, it's interesting, you know, that we live in an undisclosed location way up in the mountains of Idaho, and we don't have the gun laws here that other people have across the country.
Same for us here in Missouri.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I mean, everybody owns a gun just about up here.
Well, you've been here to Skywatch, so you've seen, I mean, everybody's carrying. And I've never felt safer. I mean, we come from Southeast Michigan, you know, around Flint, Detroit, that kind of area. And I know people do carry, but I didn't really know anybody that did. You know, people would like carry for like hunting, like they'd have shotguns or what, you know, for rifles for hunting and stuff like that. But it's not like here everybody's carrying, and we've never felt safer in our lives.
Really different. Growing up on a farm, we had guns in the house. We had guns, and we would target practice out in the back. You know, I had a 22 rifle. I shot it growing up, and we were protected. But when I moved out of the house and into like different areas of Michigan, and realized, wow, not a whole lot of people carry, and it was odd to me. But then I, you know, kind of got used to it after a while. And then moving to here in Missouri, it's like, oh wow, this is exactly how I grew up. Everybody carries.
Yeah, I love it.
You know, all about protecting you, your family. It's very, very protected. You know, and
the other side of this too is, as Christians, and this is why the false flag conspiracy stuff bothers me so much. It's not even that there's a lack of evidence for that, because there always is. You know, for all these false flag things that people want to say, like the London thing that we talked about last time that you had me on, was right after that happened. The evidence that they bring up can go either way. You know, there's never conclusive evidence. But what we do know, what we should know as Christians, is that there is a spiritual force driving all this, like an engine. You know, there's a spiritual engine behind all this. Ephesians 6:12 tells us that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, so people aren't really the problem. You know, we shouldn't be fighting with one another over this kind of stuff. Even the shooters themselves, evil as they are, they're not really the problem. There's a spiritual there are spiritual entities behind all that, pushing this agenda. Now, that's something we could actually do something about as Christians. If we come together in unity and in love, and we pray against this stuff through the power and authority of the name of Jesus Christ, we can pray against this stuff. But I think that's why the enemy wants to keep us divided, because he knows how powerful the church could be if we were united. And I don't even mean in theology. I mean, we can have different opinions on things. love is the most important thing. The Bible says that expressively, even to the point that, I forget the exact scripture, but it was in the presentation I gave last year in Dallas, that if you don't have love for one another, you don't have love for God. You can't know the love of God without love for one another, because you just can't have one without the other. Love is love. So how much more effective and powerful could the church be? Even if people want to believe it's false flag, fine. Even if people want to believe that, still, what's driving that? It's still a spiritual enemy. That's something that we should all be able to agree on, and we should all be able to unite in and come against. And that's the same thing that I said the last time with the London Bridge thing that happened previously. When these things happen, it should be a reminder to us, like, wow, we need to get our act together. Stop fighting about these stupid theological conspiracy things. We can have our own ideas about stuff, and that's fine. But put those aside and come together in unity in prayer and love and support, and pray against these things. I mean, we're given this amazing gift, the authority of Jesus Christ, the authority of the Creator, Himself. Against these principalities, powers, spiritual wickedness, and dark places, and all these things. We need to be utilizing that.
Right. And, to touch on more of the false flag thing, I have a cousin who attended Columbine High School. She was there the day of the shooting. She knew the people who did it. She found out, she heard them talking about it at prom. So that day, when it was going down, she ran home. My aunt went home to find my cousin on the couch in a catatonic state. What she saw, what she experienced, was real. And people want to say it was false. No, it's not. She didn't speak for 3 days. My cousin, it was traumatized by that. Yeah. And you want to say it's fake. It's kind of upsetting to me, being, I don't know. I can't talk too much about it because I get too upset. But,
well, and even the people, because some of the people that want to push the false flag will say, well, we're not denying that people died. We're not denying that people were injured. It's just, what was the truth? Well, that's even more reason to not focus on the stupid conspiracy aspect of it and realize, real people died. Like, there are people, victims, the victims of the families, the families of the victims, excuse me, their lives are forever changed now. This is going to define their lives now. And to set all that aside just to push some stupid conspiracy theory and just to get some clicks on a blog or on a video or something, it drives me nuts, because it's just so not what the church should be about. We should be about, okay, well, regardless of the details, we know that there's a spiritual force behind this. We know it's the enemy. This is incredibly satanic. It's demonic. It's everything anti-God. It's evil. So let's focus on that, use the authority of Jesus, come together in unity, despite, if we disagree on the details, who cares? And really come against this and be there for the families of the victims, because you don't see a whole lot of that. You see a lot of blaming and everything. There's a lot of blaming on this or that. And but then we will get upset about it, like Christians or people on the right will get upset about it when the left does that. Like when certain when certain progressive leftists try to blame Trump for the hurricane, or said these horrible things like, oh, they deserve it in Texas because they voted for Trump.
Oh my
of course,
gosh,
we'll get all up in arms and all upset about that. But unfortunately, Christians will fall into the same kind of mentality, but they think that it's righteous and justified, and it's just not. We need to put love before any of that.
You're right. This whole thing, well, Las Vegas is Sin City, they deserved it. That is a complete load of garbage. Yeah. You can't do that to people. You don't know those people. You don't know their hearts. They could have been, God-fearing Christians who were killed. You can't say it serves them right for being there at a country music concert or convention or whatever. It's ridiculous.
Well, and we see that whenever Los Angeles or California gets an earthquake, and people are real quick to say that, well, it's God's judgment because they're sinful people. Well, we're all sinful,
Yeah.
So that could get into a whole other line of discussion, but
we're all fallen. We're not perfect. There's no getting around humanity.
The fact is, we serve a loving God, and we serve a loving God, and we should be showing that love to other people, especially in times like this. Especially even if we consider unrepentant people, unsaved people, our enemy, which we shouldn't be. But even if we do consider them our enemy, the Bible still tells us to love our enemies, bless our enemies when they curse us. So there is just no excuse.
Right, it's true.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It just sickens me when you see all this stuff going on and people jumping on the bandwagon. It's just not the Christian way.
Yeah.
We just need to pray. We need to, it's another example of how much we need to repent and just be right with the Lord, as we move forward.
Amen.
So let's segue into some other stuff with you guys. I mean, let's talk about first, the two of you are doing a wonderful job on Into the Multiverse. They're on Skywatch TV, folks. That's skywatchtv.com. Pardon my dog here.
He likes the show.
She wants to have her say on what goes on in Las Vegas. But you guys are doing a wonderful, wonderful job on that show. Tell us about where you're going with that, and maybe give us a hint of stuff that we're going to be able to see in the near future there.
Sure. Well, we got some exciting stuff coming up. We just interviewed Dr. Michael Heiser on his new book, The Bible Unfiltered, which is a phenomenal book. Oh my gosh. I mean, if you want like good Bible theology that's written in a way that anybody can understand, I mean, that's what I'm all about. That's what this book is. And he absolutely loved it. Or I absolutely love it. Sorry, the dog kind of distracted me. He absolutely okay. Yeah. Well, I hope he loved it. It's his book. So we have him. We recorded 3 episodes with Dr. Michael Heiser. The second episode, which will be about is there any validity to serpent seed theory? What do we do with Adam, Eve, Cain, Seth, the serpent? What do we do with all that? That's going to be the very next one. It's going to air Thursday, 9 a.m. on youtube.com/into the multiverse. People can also find it on Roku and on the PTL network on Roku, or just at Skywatch TV on Roku. It's the best place to find it. And all information on that is at skywatchtv.com. So we have that. We also have, later on in the year, we recorded an episode that ties in with me and Derek Gilbert's new book about official alien UFO disclosure, which we could probably touch on that a little bit. But also, for the first time ever, and it's kind of mind-blowing that it took almost 2 years to get this set up. But for the first time ever, the CEO of Skywatch TV, author of the new book Saboteurs, Tom Horn, is a guest on Into the Multiverse in 2 weeks. I think we'll air that episode. Yeah. People are going to be blown away. That I don't want to give away too much because Tom's always a good person to interview. But this I've done interviews with him where we're the guests and then somebody else is interviewing us. But this was the first time that we had the chance to interview him ourselves, and it's an explosive interview. People are really going to love it. So that's kind of what's coming up in the near future with Into the Multiverse. And is there any?
Well, that's awesome. And right there, folks, there's the book. That's the book. You want to get this, you can go to Skywatch TV and get it. Read it before they do this interview. I think you'll be pleased and really in tune and ready to hear what it is that you want to hear. And the fact that you got Tom Horn to be on your show, even though you're right there with him, amazing.
It is. It's actually a lot more difficult. Because Tom actually doesn't really, he says he doesn't really like doing interviews a whole lot, but he does them to help people out, and he's a great guy. But this interview was a lot of fun. We already in the past we did interviews with Carl Gallups and Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis, and why that's important is because right now when people get Saboteurs at skywatchtvstore.com, their new books, Deeper State by Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis, a phenomenal book, and then Gods and Thrones, by Carl Gallups, and then you also get a bunch of other free stuff that comes along with that. Because
there's a bunch of good stuff, and it comes out October 15th.
Yeah, but can people pre-order now?
You can pre-order. Yeah. It's just not going to be sent out until after the 15th.
Yeah, but people should get on that because I think it's already doing really well, and it should, because they're explosive. Phenomenal books, information that you won't find anywhere else. So I highly recommend those.
Yeah, it's an amazing. I was on Skywatch TV's website this morning, looking at some news and things like that, and I saw that special. It's an amazing special, folks. Go on there, skywatchtv.com. You won't find a better deal anywhere out there on getting a full chest of books that you can use to prepare yourself for what's to come. Now, you and Derek are working on this new book together. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep. It's called The Day the Earth Stands Still. It's kind of a play off the title of the movie, The Day the Earth Stood Still. But it really goes into this idea of official disclosure. What if official disclosure actually happened? What if the government said, all right, guys, you wore us down. Here's everything we know on UFOs, aliens, all that stuff. Here's everything we know. What would that look like, and how would different groups of people react to it? Also, what's the cause behind the whole official disclosure thing? It's actually an ancient effort. Now, I right off the bat, I want to tell people this type of book has never been written before. This is not what I think some people might automatically think it is. This is not Genesis 6. This is not just simply saying, well, all aliens are demons. It's much deeper than that. It's never been done before. It is controversial. And I'll even tell you, in the book, Genesis 6 is only written one time, and it's to say, this book does not get into Genesis 6, but if you want information, here's some other materials you can look at by other authors, and I recommend some, things like by Dr. Michael Heiser, L.A. Marzulli, that kind of stuff. That part of the alien question, I think, has been researched and has been written on really well. So Derek and I wanted to kind of get away from that, not contradict that, but we wanted to pull away from that and look at it deeper and say, okay, well, people are real quick to say aliens are demons. Sure, the entities that people see that masquerade as aliens, I think that they're demonic. Derek and I both do. But there's bigger questions. Could Christianity, for example, could evangelical Christianity accommodate a genuine extraterrestrial reality? And this is completely divorced from gray aliens and reptilians and all the stuff that people are seeing. It's like, okay, we agree that that's demonic. That's been covered. That's been written on before. We all get that. But the larger question, is it possible that there's another planet with some type of life on it? And that gets into tricky areas in Christianity. Most Christians would just say no off the bat, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But we kind of start with, well, what would happen, for example, if microbial life was found on Mars or something like that? Would that be enough to shake our faith? No, it shouldn't. And then you kind of work your way up. Well, what about intelligent life? And then that gets into most Christians will say, well, that would have to be something demonic because the Bible says that we're created in the image of God. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea of what the image of God is comes into play in this whole big discussion. So I don't want to give too much away. That's only, by the way, that's only like one chapter of the book. Yeah. It gets into a lot of areas. I heard you'll be interviewing Derek soon. And he'll be able to speak to his parts. He gets more into the ancient aspect of it, the ancient gods. It's more than just demons. There's actually a lot of different spiritual, I would say extra dimensional. There's a lot of non-human, otherworldly beings more than just demons. Demons are actually really low on the totem pole. Like they're like nothing. That's like when to me that's the least exciting aspect of the whole discussion, because it's already been covered and we already get it. But Derek has been able to show a lot of evidence from not only from ancient times but even currently. I mean, this even ties into the JFK assassination, which is weird, and it's not what people think it is. It's not JFK was going to release stuff on aliens, so he got killed. It's not as simple as that. Derek really does an amazing job turning over those stones and getting the full story out about this whole deal. So, again, like I said, I don't want to give too much away, but the whole idea. Okay, I'll give this out too. I was always curious about what Leviathan is, and what that, why is it that we have different creation type of language from Genesis 1 and Psalm 74. If people read Genesis 1, then they go and read Psalm 74, they're clearly both talking about creation, but they're different. Psalm 74 talks about God like breaking the heads of Leviathan and all this weird stuff that you don't get in Genesis. Well, there is an answer to all that, and it all connects to the beast that comes out of the sea in Revelation, and the beast that from the land too. There's actual good theological answers for what that means and what that is, that I don't believe has really been covered. And the strange thing, theologians know this. Theologians have known this for a long time. To them, it's like grade school. It's boring. They've already known it forever. But it hasn't really became popular in the church, because sometimes we have traditions that get in the way of what the Bible says. Our own traditions or our own interpretations get in the way, and it's hard for good solid theologians. And there are some that I think have wacky theology, of course, but one that I really like, that I think has good, solid theology, is Dr. Michael Heiser. I probably already brought him up 5 times in this interview, but
he's just that good.
He's phenomenal. So he's one of the few, I would say, pioneers of theologians who's actually trying to bring this information into the church, and that really got me inspired. And Derek as well. He's been a huge inspiration to Derek as well. So that's why we got together to write this book from a theological standpoint. A biblically accurate standpoint, and we strip off the traditions. We just let the Bible speak for itself, and we give out certain possibilities of things. And then also part of another interview that you had me on, that we talked about, does Israel's history have anything to do with UFO history? Can we use that as a predictive tool to see what might happen in the future? There's a chapter on that, and we have some information about that out there already, but this is unlike anything that we've ever done before, ever talked about before. So when people pick up this book, I think if they have an open mind, they're going to gain, they're going to get a lot out of it. Now, if somebody is just bound and determined to be closed-minded, they probably won't like it. It'll probably be too controversial. It'll tip over too many sacred cows, maybe. But we give reasons for why we say the things we do. I mean, the actual evidence, if people go with fact over evidence, or fact over feelings, evidence over what feels right or wrong. If you stick with the evidence, people will love this book. Again, nothing like it has been written before. We do it unapologetically to the point where, it's people may have their traditional views, and that's fine. We do address those. It's fine but again, like everything else, no matter what people will disagree on, we always got to put love first. And we do that throughout the book too. So nobody's going to feel insulted or challenged. Nobody's going to, well, yeah, you might feel challenged, but not in a bad way. We don't come out against anybody in it. We do it in a very loving way, but it's well, here's the truth. That's what we really want to get out to people, is here's the truth, because we believe there's a possibility something big is coming. We don't know when, we don't know exactly what it will look like, but we discuss different scenarios throughout the book, and why, what the important things to look at are, and what the more unimportant things to look at are. So we try to give that to the reader. That is coming out later this year. We don't have an exact release date yet, I don't think. November, December, somewhere around there. We also have 4 Skywatch TV programs coming up in November, December, that where it's me, Derek, Dr. Michael Heiser is on the panel for those, Sharon Gilbert, and so we have 4 upcoming programs, and then we also have an Into the Multiverse episode with Dr. Michael Heiser to just talk about the question: could Christianity, evangelical Christianity, could it accept a genuine extraterrestrial reality, and what would that look like? What would that mean? How do we divorce that from the Genesis 6 stuff. And I'm not saying that we should, just for discussion purposes. Yeah. If we found like a primitive race of some type of being on Mars or on some other planet, what would that mean to our Christianity? Would we have to be in the box of they have to be demonic, or are there other ways to look at it? So we go through all those options in the episodes, and definitely in the book, way more in the book than we can even talk about here. But so that's kind of the brief rundown of that.
Well, that's awesome. What I love about you guys is that you present different views, and that's, sometimes I'd hear the Watchmen conferences that Jeannie and I put on. We'll hear comments from people like, well, you have all these different views. You have Baptists and Pentecostals on the same stage at the same time, and you have, you just have it's like a big crock pot, and that's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, because we want people to be challenged, we want people to hear new ideas, and the biggest compliment that I can get, actually, from an attendee at Hear the Watchmen is when they come up to me after the conference and they say, I didn't agree with that speaker at all. He did make me think. And and that is really what it's all about, feeding the body of Christ. Now, we're going to go into the Sharpening Report. Now, the Sharpening Report has a whole new look to it. It has a new host, and he's not nearly as good looking as you are, Josh, but we have a new host that's there on the Sharpening Report. Tell us a little bit about what's going on over there and what we can expect.
Sure. So for people who aren't familiar, the Sharpening Report was kind of my introduction into this community. I started it as a podcast for the first 19, 20 episodes. It was just audio only. The first 5 episodes, I didn't really know what I was doing or what to do. So the first 5 episodes were just kind of random and all over the place. But after that, I started interviewing people, and I realized that, okay, this fits as an interview show. And for me, I felt like it was a good give and take, because I'm giving the audience interviews with speakers and authors and researchers that they like and getting information out there. But it also helped me because it put me in touch with some of the researchers and authors that ended up helping get my materials in front of people like Tom Horn, So a lot of the reason why I'm where I am now is because God was able to use that outlet not only to benefit the audience, but to help me out to do what I'm doing now, and Christina as well. So it started out like that. After about 20 episodes, I started doing video interviews, actually exactly like how you're doing this interview through Google Hangouts. People really seemed to like it, really seemed to dig it. And at the time, and not to toot my own horn on this or anything, but at the time, the Sharpening Report was the first show that was doing that, just doing in our realm. I would say, definitely not first in the world. That would be ridiculous. But it was the first show because people either had podcasts or they had high production interview type shows. But there wasn't really anything in the middle at the time. So I started doing Google Hangouts just like this with very little video editing. Then I started doing Skype interviews and doing stuff like that. So it went through a lot of transitions, but I hosted it for 120 episodes. And then because at episode 100, that was when we moved here to Crane to accept jobs at Skywatch. And Tom Horn is so awesome. He said he actually encouraged me to keep doing Sharpening Report, and he said, you can use our equipment here, at the studio if you want, but yeah, go ahead, keep doing it. So because some people wonder if like Skywatch had all pressured me to stop doing the show, and it wasn't that at all. We started doing Into the Multiverse, and I really wanted to focus more on that, and I wanted to focus more on Skywatch because to me, I see Sharpening Report as like a stepping stone to what I'm doing now. So I went through a process of trying to find the right host, and there was a transition period for a few episodes of trying different people out, and then just waiting on God. And then I came into contact with this guy, Sam Johnston. He's the current host now. He's phenomenal. He is just so perfectly the right guy, for the job. So he's hosting it now. He's editing it. He has taken over the show. I'm either not at all or just very little, connected with the show. I don't tell him what interviews to do. It's all him, and he's doing a phenomenal job. And I really hope he actually came and stayed with us during we had a vacation recently, and Sam flew out. He's from Michigan as well, and he flew out, stayed with us for a few days, and so we got to spend more time with him on a personal basis. And what I see, I don't know what God has in store for Sam, but I see a lot of myself in him from a few years ago. I'm hoping and praying that the Sharpening Report can do for him what it did for me. And he has those aspirations and those goals, and he's very driven, which I love. But go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, this is before we moved into our new home. We were talking about having somebody else take over the Sharpening Report. Unfortunately, a couple other people who were doing it, they weren't able to do it anymore. It was too much on them, health problems.
No animosity with it, because people have asked
health
to
issues and things like that. And we're still in contact with them, love them both to death, but it just wasn't working out anymore, and they had to stop. And so we were talking. I was making dinner one night, and I said, the subject of Sam came up.
Oh, we met Sam at Hear the Watchmen in Dallas.
Yes, that's where we met him.
Yeah.
And he was talking about him. We were both kind of talking about him for a couple of days before we really need to look for a new host for the Sharpening Report. And then he was sitting on the couch. I was making dinner. I'm like, well, maybe there's a reason we've been thinking about Sam so much lately. Maybe there's a reason why you've been texting him more, calling him more, talking to him more. Maybe he's going to be the guy. And Josh is sitting there. He's like, it's a really good idea. I'm gonna talk to him. Maybe I won't do it tonight. He ended up doing it that night and staying up until like 2 o'clock in the morning talking to him about it. So, and it was just awesome. I think it's great. I think it's a great fit for the Sharpening Report.
It is. He's working out better than I could have imagined. It's definitely a God thing. And if people want to check it out, it's youtube.com/The Sharpening Report. Please subscribe. And because we put it on a new channel, because my channel is youtube.com/Josh Peck Disclosure, and I wanted to use that for other things. And it just seemed like it'd be better to have, the Sharpening Report title in the web address so people can remember it better. So so it's on a brand new channel. People can check it out there. He does it every week. He actually just interviewed Stan Deo. And like you said, he'll be interviewing you soon. So phenomenal host, great show. He's already done more with it than I could have. He's brought it to a whole new level that I wouldn't have been able to do. So I'm very thankful to Sam Johnston. People should also find him on Facebook and friend request him because he's a cool guy. People should know him.
Great guest to have in our home too, along with your brother was there, and Savannah was there, his brother's girlfriend visited with us for a while. It was awesome. It was just wonderful to have everybody there in our home and get to know each other a lot more. Yeah.
So that's the basic rundown of what's going on with Sharpening Report. And I mean, the channel it's on right now is small because we had to start a new channel from scratch. But I think that's good because that to me is that's just the ultimate passing of the baton because I had to start it from scratch as well. So Sam kind of gets to have that experience too, and he is just blowing it up. I mean, it's wonderful. Not enough good could be said about it.
He's great.
Well, I'll tell you what a blessing. I mean, I had no idea that you met him at the Hear the Watchmen conference in Dallas. That is connecting the remnant family is our theme and what we like to do. And it's what a blessing that is. And by the way, Sam, we were kidding. You're a great looking guy and you're only 24 years old. I mean, it's wonderful to see like you, Josh, and you, Christina, and Sam, kind of picking it up and stepping it up for the remnant, because some of us out there that are doing this have a little bit of gray hair, and we might be out of touch with that younger generation where you can get in there and really address the things that are important to them. And folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to our broadcast. I especially want to thank all of those people who took the interview that we did with Messianic Rabbi Zev Porat and have driven it to 1.2 million views.
Wow. Praise God.
Are just all praise goes to Jesus on that. It was a wonderful message. You can see it on our channel if you haven't caught it yet. Christina and Josh, thank you so much for being a part of our show today. We're looking forward to seeing you next week at the Blessed Hope. We're excited about that. Getting the opportunity to spend time with you, L.A. Marzulli, Dr. Michael Lake, all the other speakers. And we're looking forward to going to a conference that we're not running. You know, we'll see all that. But thank you guys so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. We appreciate it.
So again, folks, follow them into the multiverse. Go to skywatchtv.com. Please visit hearthewatchmen.com. You can check us out on Vimeo as well. And until the next time that we see you here on the Watchmen's Report, remember one thing: you can do anything with Jesus, except nothing at all. So get out there and do something, answer his call, and have a wonderful and blessed day until we see you again here on the Watchmen's Report.